Wow. Oh, wow. Wow, 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 wow. Validation on the newest material to be unredacted from the investigation of Jack and Lilly. The only question remains is what the heck are the RCMP doing? Because this is insane. So, as you can see, I'm resting my neck on a pillow. I injured my neck at work. And I shouldn't even be doing this. Okay, so this is why I had to cancel the live tarot readings. As much as I want to go forward with two separate channels, I'm not able to do tarot readings right now because I can't really and shouldn't be lifting my arms at all until we know what exactly is happening with my neck. So, anyways, onwards. I want to talk about this a little bit first. I want to remind everybody what I said at the beginning, that, and what I've told the RCMP. And it begs the question, why the heck are they still calling this case non-criminal in nature? I'm blown away by that statement right now. Okay, I'm blown away by that statement, given the newest unredacted documents. We're going to give Michelle in the Dark full credit for the amazing, amazing, amazing video she just did. The other video I wanted to show you was DT. I was going to pull that up on the live because he's pinpointed. Do you all remember when I said that the kids came and went down the laneway, went along the road in the bush where there is a trail that I showed, and then back around with this massive clearing. And I actually went through it on a video on a live, and they went west towards the train tracks and followed the pipeline there. I had no idea that's where the boot print was found. None. Also, do you remember when I sent them a location to pin that highly came up in my psychic visions near the train tracks? And they were interested in that pin location. Well, it looks like that may be where the neighbor has heard that vehicle lives. Okay. So I am blown away because the video Michelle in the Dark just did about the newest statement from the police, and we're going to play it in full right now, has validated, including Durwood's suspicion of, I'm suspicious of Durwood, including my suspicions of Durwood O'Grady, who didn't like being called out and attacked me because he doesn't like being called out. Wow, 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 wow is all I have to say. And it begs the question, what the TF are you doing, RCMP? I'm sorry. I'm calling you out. This is baloney. Get your SHIT together and stop following the narrative to the public who are not stupid that this is not a criminal investigation. You would be far better to come out and say, we believe in foul play. We just don't have the evidence yet to prove it. But to come out and say, with this new unredacted court document, that there is no criminal activity with the evidence that comes out is absolutely ludicrous, in my opinion. Just my opinion. Just my opinion. Those kids did not walk out of the door by themselves and walk away by themselves. In fact, this unredacted evidence suggests otherwise. And you knew it all along. So what are you doing about this? Because seriously, as a Canadian, I am losing faith in the RCMP's ability to actually solve missing children cases. You know what else I want to just go off the cuff for a second? Sorry, it's automatic for me to lift my arms. I want to go off the cuff and just say, I am so sick and tired of no foul play statements when we have an epidemic of child trafficking and kidnapping in North America, around the world for that matter. So how many cases have you heard the cops go, yeah, this kid was kidnapped? It's always nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. Baloney. Baloney. It's time that the police, all police agencies, start taking missing kids cases a lot more seriously. And with this, the one that Reed just did, Darius. I mean, I might, if I can do another reading soon, I want to reinvestigate that reading, because the fact that Kaya died 21 days later, or less than 3 weeks later, 19 days, I think it was, after Darius goes missing, is sus as heck. But again, RCMP out west in Alberta, nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. What the TF is wrong with the RCMP? I'm sorry, they're losing credibility. They've lost my faith in them as a Canadian citizen to solve missing kids cases. It's outrageous. It's outrageous. Anyways, and both Sebastian, Jack and Lily, and Darius are autistic children. Autistic children that present a lot more stress in daily coping mechanisms from parents. So, are they more likely to wander? Yeah. But they're also more likely to have parents that don't know how to cope. So where's that side of the coin being looked at? Anyways, let's move on. I really want to go through this with you, because this has just completely blown me away. So here's the video, Michelle, after dark. My apologies. I think I said in the dark, Michelle. Did an outstanding video here, and I'm going to play it for you, and we're going to break and discuss it as we go. But listen to this. This is wild. Now, I'm a lot more strong in my opinions about this than she is, because she's tactful. I'm Canadian, and I don't care if I have a disagreement and a grudge against the Canadian law enforcement for what they're doing to investigate missing kids cases. I'm going to say it because it's allowed. I'm allowed to have my opinions. But let's watch this.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Michelle. I hope you're doing well. Welcome to another video. It is Saturday morning, the 18th of October, and have we got something to discuss today? Hot off the press from Nova Scotia, in the case of missing siblings 6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan from Lansdowne Station, we have release of more information from the court documents. The Canadian press has been successful in lobbying the RCMP to take some of the redactions off from the court documents that came out in August. Now, I've not seen the revised court documents. I don't know whether anybody's got them that could send them to me so I can compare to see just how many redactions have been removed. What we do have, however, are the write-ups by CBC, Globe and Mail and CTV of this new information.
I just want to add, before I forget, too, that I don't know if you remember, Belinda was going to send me the documents. Pretty sure Sunny, It's a Crying Shame, reached out to her and told her not to cooperate with me. So if you're watching this, Belinda, you might want to understand that I work as a psychic medium, and everything I've been saying is true. So you might want to reconsider. If somebody's advised you not to send them to me, I would really appreciate if you did, because I am really trying to solve this case. And then that's all I'm going to say there. I'm not doing it for clicks and views. I volunteer with the psychic as a psychic medium with the Find Me group, and have so since 2018, and have solved other missing cases. So found a missing child. So I would really appreciate some, think for yourself if you can. And if you want to really help me help you and the police find Jack and Lily, that those court documents that I can't afford to buy would be really, really helpful, Belinda. Thank you. Let's move on.
I can't read the Globe and Mail one because it's making me pay, but I'm going to read the CBC one, and we're going to look at this very, very carefully, because there's a lot of information in here. Once again, in this case, I've had my mind blown a little bit. I'm a little bit shocked as to what's actually going down here in this rural backwater. Well, like I said, we've got a lot to discuss, so we better get into it. Let's go. Before we do, can I just ask, if you're not yet subscribed, please do so. I'm trying to get to 100,000 subscribers by the end of this year. I hit 97,000 subscribers yesterday, so I've now...
Yes, everybody watching here, if you have not subscribed to Michelle After the Dark, please go and help her reach her goal of 100,000. And if you're watching this and you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would appreciate it as well. Thank you. Let's go.
I've got less than 3,000 to go. With your help, I can do it. It'll be a great Christmas present for myself. There's nothing in it for me except for the silver play button plaque that I can put on my wall. It's completely free. Get your friends, get your neighbours, get everybody, your family, everybody, even your dog. Let your dog subscribe. Help me out. All right, so I'm going to read the CBC article. I'm going to read it slowly, and we're going to digest every little morsel of information here. So we've got witness reports from 2 neighbours. We have heard previously about a loud vehicle, 5-speed loud vehicle, coming and going from the direction of Lilly and Jack's house during the night. So this will be May the 1st into May the 2nd. And as you will recall...
Okay. Before any of this was made public, I specifically told the RCMP that I believe that something happened the night before the morning of the reported disappearing. So that statement I made to them May 8th, long before, well, let me just say, I called in to give my statement, and then the officer that I was working with has since been removed from the case. I told them that May 8th, 9th, 10th, I don't remember the exact date, but I called in May 8th. And I think it might have been the next day. So I was right. Okay. I was right when I said there was nefarious activity going on the night before any of this came out publicly.
Lilly and Jack were reported missing at 10:01 a.m. on May the 2nd, which was a Friday, by their mother, Malay Brooks Murray. So the early hours of May the 2nd. So we now know who these neighbours are, and there are actually 2 neighbours who heard the same thing. The press have also...
2 neighbours heard the same thing. Vehicles traveling to the Sullivan, Jack and Lily's property between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m. 2 neighbors. Let's keep watching. So how they call it a missing persons case and not nefarious is just, I'm dumbfounded. I'm really dumbfounded. Suspicious without evidence to prove foul play would be a better narrative. Now, are they trying to make Daniel think he's in the free and the clear so that he slips up and doesn't do anything or does something that they can catch up on? I don't know. It doesn't sound like it because they continue to push the narrative publicly that there's no foul play here, nothing to see.
Got a statement from Daniel. The RCMP, however, have refused to comment on this. So, 2 people who live near Jack and Lily Sullivan's home told police they heard a vehicle coming and going in the middle of the night just hours before the Nova Scotia children were reported missing. The new details from witnesses are laid out in redacted records that were previously released in August at the request of CBC News and other media outlets on Friday, yesterday. And these write-ups actually happened overnight my time. So, new details of this case were released after CBC News fought to have some redactions lifted. The documents contain court applications filed by investigators for permission to conduct searches for phone records, banking records, and videos relating to the case. They include unproven statements made by police.
Let's just go back. I want to go back here and re-listen to this, reread it. 2 people, 2 who live near Jack and Lily's home, told the police they heard a vehicle coming and going in the middle of the night, just hours before the children were reported missing. Why, for the love of God, are you still searching around that property? I have no words. I just, 2 neighbors heard a vehicle coming back and forth. Not 1, 2. Tell me, make it make sense. Make it make sense that they're still following the narrative that the kids walked out on their own. Make that make sense for me. Because that blows me away. My head could pop off with the insanity of this narrative. Let's go. We're not done. We are not done. Just hours. The 2 neighbors rather, heard a vehicle coming and going in the middle of the night. The new details from witnesses are laid out in redacted records that were previously released in August at the request of the CBC and other media outlets. On Friday, new details of the case were released after CBC fought to have some redactions lifted. So now they're trying to conceal these facts from the public. because they look like dumbasses. Excuse my language, but that's the plain fact. Because they look like dummies for following this narrative. The last reading I did said ego. Yeah, sir, the sergeant in charge. Please put your ego down and do the right thing and shift your narrative from nothing to see here, because this makes you look dumb. It makes you look incompetent as collectively as the RCMP. It makes you all look like dumb people. If you think the public doesn't already feel suspicion around this case and you were claiming another narrative that doesn't present itself with the evidence to be the case, then you look like a dumbass. Sorry, that's just plain fact. I don't care what you think about my opinion. You look dumb. So stop the stupid narrative right now. The documents contain court applications filed by investigators for permission to conduct searches for phone records, banking records, and video related to this case. They include unproven statements made by the police. Unproven. So like I said, you would be far better to say we suspect foul play. We just don't have the evidence here. Because then the public would believe you that you are actually working at the case. But right now, when you put stupid statements out that contradict the evidence that's now coming forward, you look dumb, period. I want to talk about this too, because DT, I want to talk about these phone records. Recording this and my neck is starting to really, so I'm going to try to keep my hands down. Sorry. This phone evidence, DT, I really don't know a lot about him, but this, I'm following the police narrative. DT, wake up. Please wake up. Please wake up. And the fact that there's no phone evidence, to me, is exactly interesting. But also, just kind of like Sebastian, no evidence is in itself interesting. But more than that, if you don't have cell reception, very good cell reception, then you probably aren't used to, like those of us that do, carrying your phone around with you everywhere, because why? You don't get proper reception. Two, if you're going to try to hide a nefarious act, would you bring your cell phone with you when you know it can be traced? No. So DT, I don't know a lot about you. I'm just making statements over some of the things I've heard you say in the last couple of days. And I find your thinking to be your defensive, Daniel, and your thinking to be very, very limited. That's enough about that. Let's go.
Children were reported missing. The new details from witnesses are laid out in redacted records that were previously released in August at the request of CBC News and other media outlets on Friday, yesterday. And these write-ups actually happened overnight, my time. So, new details of this case were released after CBC News fought to have some redactions lifted. The documents contain court applications filed by investigators for permission to conduct searches for phone records, banking records, and videos relating to the case. They include unproven statements made by police. Interesting. Lilly 6 and Jack 4 reported missing on the morning of May 2nd, as we know. Sparsely populated community about 140 kilometres northeast of Halifax. Fun fact, we've got a Halifax here in the UK, in West Yorkshire. One of my great-great-grandfathers came from Halifax in West Yorkshire, and he moved here to this very village where I live to be a policeman. He was a policeman in this village for many years. Anyhow, the siblings lived on the property with their mother, their stepfather Daniel Martel, and the couple's one-year-old daughter and Martel's mother, Janie. On May 9th, two constables had a conversation with Brad Wong, who lives near the home. Brad Wong. He heard a loud vehicle coming and going from that area in the early morning hours of May 2nd. He said his residence is at an elevated position from Daniel's residence, and he could see vehicle lights over the treetops, said RCMP Corporal Charlene Curl in her written request to the court. He said the vehicle left 3 or 4 times after midnight and into the early morning hours of the morning. He said the vehicle would drive off in the distance and he could hear it stop and then return. He said it remained in earshot the entire time. So an elevated position and could see the lights over.
How has this been dismissed by the RCMP? and they continue the narrative that the kids just walked out. This is, I have no words. I've already said how dumbfounded I am, how stupid they look. It's negligent. It's irresponsible. It's irresponsible to continue to try to fool and pull the wool over our eyes. Okay, it's just I don't want to get upset, but I cannot express enough how disappointed I am in the RCMP right now and outraged, truly, for these kids.
The treetops. Okay. Now I don't know on which property Brad
Okay,
Wong
let's
lives.
stop
If you
here.
know, please don't
Oh,
put his address in the comments section because that would be doxing. So
I'm
please
gonna.
don't do that. You can give it to me privately if you know exactly which property it is, but please don't put it in the comments. All right, so an elevator
Okay, let's
position. Well,
stop. I want to just highlight here when I first said, okay, I had no idea that there was a boot print found here. Do y'all remember me saying at the very beginning, I felt like, and I told the RCMP this, somebody knew these kids. Okay, this was an orchestrated event that somebody made it come in from the back. I felt like they walked in from the back. They took them. Now, that was what I said. Now, it sounds like that piece was wrong. But I did say I felt like they went towards the lake, which is this way, but they came through here in a clearing along the road, and then they went and caught up here to this track and went all the way. Remember, I walked all, I forget how I did it on a live, but it was like I just psychically felt like they went here, they maybe came in here, and then eventually ended up on this trail. Well, what's interesting is I've just learned this is where the boot mark was, which I had no idea. I had no idea. Do you remember where I also pinpointed right by the train tracks in here? Well, listen up. Listen up. Just blown away.
what we can do on Google Earth, and I'm going to turn back the years here to give us a year where the properties are more easily seen. Let's find one. Here we go. Here we go. This is from 2004. It's an easier capture from the sky of the properties. So you can see there's not many. There's property there, 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 there. This is Lillian Jack's house. You will know if you followed me through different cases that Google Earth allows you to look at the elevation, tiny, tiny writing. You have to really squint, but elevation change. So this is the elevation above sea level. We're not interested in how many meters above sea level this is. What we're interested in is the elevation change. So if Brad Wong is saying that his property is elevated, what we need to do is look at elevation change. So if we hover here over the property where Daniel lives, at the road, you can just see there 135 meters above sea level, and a meter is 39 inches or just over a yard. Brad Wong lives.
I just have to state great, great work, Michelle. This was an amazing video. Thank you.
An elevated property. That one is 140 meters above sea level, so that would be 141 there. So that's about 5 to 6 meters above sea level. So this property, that's about the same level. This one, 146 meters. This one, 151 meters. Okay, so we've got between.
Okay, so the one of these two properties, she's going to go through, has an ability to see, because of its elevation above Daniel's, to see this, one of these two properties. Where did I pinpoint? Right friggin' here. I got a reading, and we're not done yet. Let's keep listening. And this is where I had my pendulum on a live, and I sent in a location to the RCMP. You remember? Yeah, I remember.
5 here and about 15 meters. So if we work that out, 5 meters in feet. I can't cut with meters. So 5 meters is 16 feet. So how high are these trees? Are they as high as 16 feet?
Yes.
Well, we've got another property that's 15 meters
Yep.
above Daniel's, and that's 49 feet. So if the property that Brad Wong lives on is one of these,
Yep.
it's considerably higher, then yeah, he's going to be able to see
Mm-hmm.
over the treetops most likely. Then, on May 17th,
Yeah, and I always felt that corner because that's where I pinned it, right? So again, boom, 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 boom. I have been extremely accurate on this case. And the RCMP officer that did recognize that is no longer working on the case. I don't know. It's mind-blowing.
Constable took a statement from Justin Smith, who also lives in the area. Smith said he was working on Facebook during the early hours of May the 2nd. Around 1:30 a.m. he heard a car on Highway 289 turn around by the railroad tracks near the area of Gerlock Road and Lansdowne Station.
So we have Wong and Smith, two neighbors. Two neighbors. And he heard a car on Highway 289, which is Gerlock Road, turn around by the railway tracks. Where was the blanket found? In the area of Gerlock Road and Lansdowne Station Road. Yeah, not one, two witness statements. And they're still pushing nothing to see here. Kids walked out on their own narrative. This should outrage you. This should outrage you. They are lying to us with their stupid claims that there is no foul play here. I'm dumbfounded with the background and everything, which I wanted to talk to you about on the live, which we're going to get into. And Barb, if you're watching, I would love for you to come up and state. You don't have to be able to remember, because I know you and I've been communicating via email. It's not that you have to remember exactly where you found this evidence, but I do want to tell everybody what you heard, because this adds, even if true, if what you're saying is true, that you heard another RCMP officer took over the case and what that person found on Daniel, if that is true, this makes it even more dumbfounding and mind-blowing. So I'm going to talk about that, but if you can email me, I would love to have you up on the panel to just tell everybody for 5 minutes what you heard way back.
That intersection is near the home where the children went missing. So the intersection of Gerlock Road, which is Highway 289, and Lansdowne Station Road. Okay, so we can go back to our map here, and here's the railroad track. Here's Highway 289, Gerlock Road, and then this is Lansdowne Station Road. So in this vicinity, a loud vehicle, went down, turned round in this area. It made noise and then went quiet. The vehicle was quiet for about 2 minutes, then drove towards Log Road.
Laird Road.
There's Log Road.
Jen,
So it went.
Jen and I have been saying Laird Road, and we told the police, I did, that we feel something is over here. So the vehicle went down to the train tracks and then towards Laird Road. Remember the distraction theory? Drop the blanket, but the real evidence is over here. Yeah. I don't think they've even searched that far out, y'all.
In this direction. Okay. So
Let's rewind
I'm
that.
assuming.
Let's rewind that because I'm talking a lot and I'm going to quiet down for a little bit. So this is not a super lengthy video either.
Of Gerlock Road, which is Highway 289, and Lansdowne Station Road. Okay, so we can go back to our map here, and here's the railroad track. Here's Highway 289, Gerlock Road, and then this is Lansdowne Station Road. So in this vicinity, a loud vehicle, went down, turned round in this area. It made noise and then went quiet. The vehicle was quiet for about 2 minutes, then drove towards Log Road. So there's Log Road up there. So it went in this direction.
Oh my God.
So
Oh
I'm
my God.
assuming it would have gone down to the railroad tracks, turned round, and then went back. And obviously from the railroad, it's in the direction of Lillian.
Y'all remember how we've been saying this, Jen and I? We're not focused over here for some reason. Yeah, I got some pinnings and stuff which now can be explained, but what the dang is with Laird Road? Jen and I, recalled it as one of the possible locations for the kids.
Jack's house. Justin Smith later spoke with Brad Wong, who informed him Daniel's vehicle came and went 5 or 6 times that night. Wong said the car Smith heard was Daniel. So
Boom.
according to Wong. Now, Brad
Boom, boom, boom. Do you think the neighbor might know Daniel's car? Do you think yeah, Daniel, well, let's just keep listening because there's more information to come out here that also makes it curious about Daniel.
Brad Wong only saw the lights above the treetops and could have this vehicle in earshot the whole time. He didn't actually see who was driving, so even if a vehicle was coming and going in the night from Lillian Jack's house, it doesn't mean to say it was Daniel.
No, it doesn't mean to say it's Daniel, but what's the most likely answer since it was Daniel's car that he recognized, but he couldn't see the driver in the middle of the night? What, Daniel gave somebody else the keys while he was sleeping, or somebody stole his car while he was sleeping? Yeah. I mean, what's the most obvious answer? That it was Daniel, especially with what's coming up
Because
next.
someone else could have been driving. The records detail Martel's account of the evening before the children were reported missing, and we know this already. He told police he went to bed fairly early and didn't wake up until it was light next morning. The document said Brooks Murray, that's Malaya, told police she put Lily and Jack to bed first, then their 1-year-old daughter, and then went to bed herself around 9 o'clock. Sometimes it says 10 o'clock, so between 9 and 10 maybe. She said Martel stayed up and was going to clean the house for her, but it wasn't clean when she got up, so she doesn't know what he did.
Yeah. Okay. When I did the reading the other day, I felt like maybe Malaya, and this is not, I have supported Malaya from the beginning. I think she might have suspicions and more clarity now, but was she drunk and high and maybe didn't hear? Not a judgment statement, just curious. Or was truly really rock asleep, like dead asleep, and didn't hear what was going on. But Daniel stayed up to do yard work or clean the house rather, but didn't do so. Didn't do so. Interesting. So what really was he doing? What was he doing?
Malaya said she was not woken up throughout the night and doesn't know when Daniel came to bed. Daniel has previously said that he was outside when Malaya was in the house with the kids, so Malaya was putting the kids to bed. He was outside helping his mother build a fence. So the very fence that still wasn't mended or fixed the following morning, because if it had have been, and Lily and Jack actually did walk away from their home, they wouldn't have been able to get out, would they? If there wasn't gaps in the fence.
Also in the court documents was the fact that the kids did wander, and I said that. They had wandered before,
And as they knew
which
that Jack
I guess is maybe why the police think they walked out. But that means you have to dismiss the police accounts of the car or the neighbors' accounts of the car. To me, I am just, again, I cannot state enough how shocking it is to hear them continue this narrative.
wandered off, why on earth would you have holes in your fence? Anyway, in a phone interview Friday, Martel said no one from the family left the property that night and they
Yeah,
didn't
right.
have any visitors.
Sorry,
Of course
don't believe you, Daniel.
he said the only vehicle that left the yard was on the morning the children went missing when he took Brooks Murray's SUV to collect the
Baloney.
children.
BS.
It's not loud by any stretch of the imagination, he said. So there could have been a vehicle to in and fro in that was nothing to do with Daniel or anybody at the property. Just because Brad Wong says it was Daniel doesn't mean to say.
Oh, and keep listening because there is another bombshell coming up here. Truly a bombshell regarding Deerwood.
It was. So intriguing, but it leaves us with more questions than answers. Martel said the RCMP never asked him about the vehicle coming and going. I know the investigators work hard, said Martel. They're exploring every lead. Brooks Murray has not responded to interview requests. An investigator's comment in the same document said, as of July 16th, the children's disappearance was not believed to be criminal. The RCMP declined a request for an interview on Friday.
Still not believed to be criminal. What? I'm just, I have no words.
Now, let's move on to Durwood. This is Durwood right here. Oh, his real name is Darren. Now, we've all heard about what Durwood had to say when he was doing the rounds on YouTube. He said that Malaya had the children taken and she was meant to be following on later that day. But
Okay. Do you remember my comments about Durwood? Do you remember my vision where I told the police that the person, Larry, Uncle Larry, and I said there was two men, and I couldn't figure out if Uncle Larry was the first but it was connected to Durwood and Janie, and that Durwood and Janie were behind this, in my opinion, and that my vision was of them walking with Uncle Larry to take them to Uncle Larry's barn, and that there was grease all over the hands of that person. And when we heard Durwood say he came out from his barn from working on his tools or his vehicles, I had every hair on my fiber stand up. Every freaking hair on my body, rather, every fiber, every hair stood up because this was my vision. And I sent that to the police regarding Durwood as well.
But everything went wrong, and here we are. The records also show that police interviewed one of Brooks.
You know, I just had a thought. I just had a thought. I'm just putting it out there because it just came to me, an intuitive hit. Why did they remove the gentleman that was working on the case that was working with me? Are they trying to shut this narrative down? Do they know they don't have enough evidence, so they're just going to quit this case despite them saying they're still working on it? Why the change in the detective that isn't responding to me, despite the fact that everything I said is now coming out to be truthful? Why? Begs the question. Are they going to sweep this under the rug? It seems like they are. It seems like they are going to tell us they're still working on it, and they're just going to continue to not really focus on the vehicles and the witnesses that heard those vehicles. It just feels like the RCMP are going to wind down and are really not working super hard in the background anymore. Just my opinion.
Murray's relatives, Darren Geddes. Geddes is believed to have appeared on a YouTube true crime show, It's a Crime and Shame, under the pseudonym Durwood O'Grady, where he put forward a theory that Malaya put the children in a vehicle and sent them away before reporting them missing. It said Geddes noted his comments could be wrong and could be speculation.
Yeah, Durwood, because you were actually friends with Daniel and his mother, Janie. And you and Janie concocted your little scheme with Daniel going along. And I don't think Daniel quite knew exactly the extent of your scheme at the beginning. And I think your scheme went foul, which I've said numerous times. Let's listen more because, yeah, it gets a little more suspicious, Darren Geddes.
Well, Darren Geddes has suggested in social media posts that Malaya may have been involved in their disappearance, but this is his theory. He has also suggested he might know the location of the children, an RCMP investigator wrote. So all of this is in the court documents. We didn't know this, did we? All of this is actually in the court documents. On May 30th, two RCMP members met with Geddes, who told them he spoke with Martel a few weeks after the kids went missing.
Okay, so Geddes lied to us because he told us he reached out to them and they never called him back. This was much later than May 30th, so he lied. Derwin lied. Keep listening because it gets even more interesting with respect to Durwood.
And also spoke with Patty Pearson, Brooks Murray's grandmother, about the investigation. And Darren is Patty's cousin, so that makes him Malaya's first cousin twice removed. The constable said Geddes was confrontational and evasive to questions asked of him and wanted police to provide him with information about the investigation.
Boom! The constable said Durwood Geddes was confrontational and evasive to questions asked of him and wanted police to forward him with information about the investigation. You think Durwood's trying to figure out what the police know about him and what he may be involved in? Sounds like that to me. Sounds incredibly suspicious behavior to be evasive and confrontational if you're merely just trying to help Durwood. It seems like you've inserted yourself into the case because you want to know what they know about your involvement. That's just my opinion. And you can call me crazy. Well, you've been blocked from here because you've already done so and threatened me because I'm right. I believe with 1,000% that you were behind this with Janie and maybe Patty. Let's go.
Isn't that interesting? That he wanted answers from the cops. They wanted answers from him, which he wouldn't give, but he wanted answers from the cops. He might be Patty's cousin, but guess who he's friends with? Daniel and Janie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to leave a massive pause there. He became
Mm-hmm.
upset when his questions were not answered. On June 26, Brooks Murray gave police a video recording of a phone conversation between Patty and Darren.
Malaya, good on you, girl. I'm not saying that you're the perfect mother because I think people would be outraged with me if I said that. But I also have said from the beginning that I also, way before any of this came out, I said you were the victim of abuse by Daniel, and there was drugs involved in that house, and that Janie and Daniel are involved with making drugs, which has come out to be something stated by the family. And good on you for recording the conversation between Geddes and your grandmother. Good on you. Now, how did you know about that conversation, that it was going to be taking place? I don't know. I would suspect that your grandmother knew and let you in on listening and recording it. I am so, so relieved and glad you did that. The question's going to be what the police did with that evidence, because again, this is disappointing at best that they have still continued with this narrative.
Jason's first cousin. The conversation was recorded on the evening of June 21st, and it's not clear if Geddes knew he was being recorded, but there appeared to be an expectation of privacy. So Malaya recorded Patty and Darren secretly. A secret recording. Good on her. Like, she's been accused of having her children disappear.
Yeah.
And if that's absolutely not true, then yeah, record them. Maybe Patty was in on it. Let's get him talking. Let's get him on.
Everybody that's coming after Malaya because she's been quiet in the background, I have repeatedly said she is afraid. And just because you're quiet doesn't make you the perpetrator. And often the perpetrators like to be seen, like to be heard, especially when they're narcissists and they want to get in front of the evidence, hence Daniel and Durwood. And if they're narcissist and used to lying and getting away with things, they don't see themselves as interjecting. They see themselves very differently from what the rest of the world sees them as. So we're almost done this video.
Let's get him on recording here. That's really good. Nice one. Nice one. But we don't know what they said. It's not clear from the records exactly what Pearson and Geddes said during the conversation. CBC News interviewed Geddes on July the 4th, and he shared similar theories. However, the information could not be verified. The children's disappearance in May sparked an extensive grid search that spanned 8.5 square kilometres of mostly dense woods and involved 160 ground search and rescue volunteers, service dogs, drones and helicopters, as we know. The mysterious nature of the case, fueled by a lack of answers, has garnered international attention. Last week, RCMP announced that cadaver dogs did not find human remains in searches conducted around the property and in the areas of high probability in the community. In an interview, Staff Sergeant Rob McCammon reiterated that the case is still being investigated under the Missing Persons Act and is
not a criminal case. Rob McCammon, you are failing these kids. I'm sorry, but stop with this stupid narrative. Did you go to Laird Road? Did you go to Laird Road with the canines? It remains to be answered.
not a criminal case, and that's written by Ali Thompson. Well, all of that gives us more questions than answers, doesn't it? Dear, oh dear, oh dear. Vehicles mysteriously moving around in the night and secret recordings. Wow, well, I'm pretty sure the RCMP have way more information than we have.
I would agree, Michelle, which is why I'm coming forward and asking them to stop trying to pull the wool over the eyes. We are more intelligent than you give us credit for, RCMP. We all believe some foul play between the parents and the family occurred here to cause the disappearance of Jack and Lily. So for you to continue to use the narrative that they just walked out, nothing to see here, seems to think you think the public are stupid. And we're not stupid. We are not stupid. We do believe that these kids, most people, I shouldn't say we, because, people like DT don't. Most of us believe there's something nefarious that happened to cause these kids to walk out of their homes. And I would really like to see you stop trying to create the narrative that suggests the public has nothing to see here, because it's only fueling the fire of anger and a lack of trust that the public has in your abilities to solve missing person cases. There's other missing kids that have gone missing in the area that you still haven't solved. So why don't you do your job and stop trying to fool the public with baloney? Thank you, everybody. Love and light.